Within 6 days to the February 25th presidential elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, yesterday declared there would be no voting by anybody without his or her permanent voters card, the PVC. Speaking at a retreat for newly appointed resident electoral commissioners.
Hello everyone, good day according to your time. Welcome back to Learning is the Key. Hope you guys are doing well. Please, if you are seeing my channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and kindly hit on the notification button. Please follow my page. As you do that, God will bless you. And for my old subscribers and my old followers, you are highly welcome and God will bless you. Yes, guys, INEC, Nigerians, there is a problem in that country. Okay, you will hear from this news that for these past days, a lot of voters' card has been stolen, first of all. And I don't even know what I call the other one. The one you must have before you can vote is PVC, okay? If you don't have PVC, no vote for you. And according to the same spokesman, said that a lot of people have lost theirs because bandits have stolen a lot of voter documents. And now, if bandits have stolen different equipments of voting, how do you expect the people to meet up? Just few days, like February is around the corner. And how can you come out to tell Nigeria that people have been stealing vote materials? Like as if it's a normal thing. Where did they put it? How do the people know that it was there? How do they go there and, burst everything and collect it without nobody knew? So guys, I'm bringing this news for you so that your people back home will know. Also, my people will know that if they don't have PVC, no vote, first of all. And secondly, for them to know that who is going to win, if they are already preparing it, like they are already preparing who is going to win. Because I don't see any reason why they will steal the ink, why they will steal the potential things that people need for the vote. I don't see any reason. So if they steal it, they say some get destroyed. How do they know that we are destroyed? And some are still missing. So listen to the news and use your tongue to count your teeth. Because me, I don't really understand it, guys. Because a country where bandits can go and steal things, important things like this, are we really safe in that country?
Rex, INEC chairman, Professor Mohammed Yakubu, who disclosed that the number of no PVC, no voting riot act noted that in the last few months, INEC's facilities have been set ablaze in no fewer than 5 local government areas across the country. Also, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, has vowed to arrest and prosecute touts obstructing campaigns by opposition political parties as well as politicians indulging in vote buying during the 2023 elections. This, nonetheless, the House of Representatives yesterday condemned all forms of attack on the facilities and buildings of the federal government in the country, particularly attacks on facilities and infrastructure of INEC. Dr. Bati, a lot to talk about on this.
Okay, the INEC chairman was reportedly speaking yesterday at a summit that had been organized by the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC. And he made that point that no PVC, no voting. I guess that, that in itself is a no-brainer because, as he pointed out, it's a legal requirement. You must have a PVC, you must be a registered voter for you to be able to vote. In other words, it is a mandatory requirement of the law. And the relevant section of the law is Section 47, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022. So I say it's a no-brainer because, this is very obvious. If you are a registered voter, you can't vote. By the way, it wasn't IPAC. That was a police event. The IPAC, the event where the INEC chairman spoke was at a retreat for the 19 newly appointed resident electoral commissioners. Out of the 19, 14 of them are new. 5 of them had been there. And 86 days to the February 25 presidential election, it made sense to provide a retreat, to organize a retreat for new resident electoral commissioners, for them to familiarize themselves with guidelines, for them to familiarize themselves with the legal framework, for them to realize, and to be properly instructed in terms of the importance of their responsibility as resident electoral commissioners across, the Federation. So that was the purpose of the meeting, but then, the INEC chairman made that point that Section 47, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2022 is sacrosanct. And he said that some people have been saying on social media that even if you don't have a PVC, you can vote. So he has made it clear now, you must vote. Only with your PVC. You must be a registered voter. That's not one leg of it. The second leg of it is that he talked about security, the attacks on INEC offices. 5 local government area offices of the INEC have been attacked in the last 4 months. Close to 2,000 ballot boxes have been stolen. Close to 400 cubicles, voting cubicles, have been made away with or destroyed, and 22 generators, electric power generators, in those affected states have also been destroyed. But the INEC chairman says, well, INEC is ready to replace all of this, but that continuous attack on INEC facilities, will limit the capacity of the Electoral Commission. And he was calling on all the security agencies and community leaders to help INEC to make sure that people don't continue to destroy facilities. And he cited the cases in Enugu State, in Ogun State, Abeokuta South, in Osun State, in Ede South, and Ebonyi State, in Easy local government area of Osun State. And so, the issue of security is also very important. However, with regard to these PVCs that have been destroyed, the INEC chairman was quoted when he visited Abeokuta earlier in the week that, the PVCs can be produced within 2 days. Okay, 4 different states now, 5 local government areas where, PVCs have been made away with. Is he really sure that they can produce those PVCs within 2 days? Because what he also said is that for you to get your PVC back, you must have your voter identification number, VIN. And that once INEC has your VIN, they can reproduce your PVC. I have a voter's card. I don't even know what is called the VIN, because nobody goes about looking at his PVC every day. Or if you have not been given, as is the case with the affected persons, how would they even know their voters' identification number? So that's where the problem is. And the real problem is that many Nigerians, who are involved in the incidents that the INEC chairman himself pointed out, are most likely to be disenfranchised. And it's just right in one regard that, look, the attack on INEC offices will not just limit INEC capacity; it will also disenfranchise. We have to add that many Nigerians who will have expected to vote, and that is a challenge clearly for the security agencies. The security agencies, the Inspector General of Police, who is saying there will be zero tolerance for vote buying, for thuggery and all that. Well, let him first of all keep his promise that INEC facilities will be protected, because it's important.
So 2 things has to be said. It is easy now for INEC to come out and say people are talking about on social media about the possibility of voting without the PVC. But let's go back. Why are people talking about that in the first place? People are talking about that because INEC has not shown logistical competence in the first place. And let's call a spade a spade. You see, I'm not for deceits. INEC has not shown logistical competence as regards this PVC issue. In defense of INEC, people too did not come out on time to register to get their PVCs. And we must stop this fire brigade approach. But the logistical competence of INEC is suspect. And that's why, because people are seeing the timeline of 3 months to the presidential election, and most PVCs, due to the new registration, have not been collected. And that's why people are beginning to talk like that online. We know that it's stipulated in the electoral law that you can't vote without a PVC. We know, we are aware of the law. But also, we are not oblivious of the hitherto logistical incompetence INEC has shown. What INEC should do now is to be able to reassure the people, not just by words of mouth, by action. When is this PVC collection going to go full swing? The over 5, 6, 7, 8 million people that newly registered, when are they going to get their PVCs? Do their officers in various local governments even know? I have heard people call me and say, Rufai, I went to this place, they said I should call this number said I should, there's nothing. So the population is as confused about what INEC is doing when they will get their PVCs. They keep giving timelines. At some point, they say by November they'll start receiving. A lot of people are not received by November. I think I would even go further. If we open up our channel for reaching us on Arise TV and ask people, what are the challenges as regards receiving your PVC? You will see that people will have a lot to say. The bedlam will be countrywide. So apart from just talking, then match it with action. That's all we demand for INEC. Because a lot of people want to vote. 90 million Nigerians want to get a chance to have a say on who leads them. But when it looks as though because of vandalism, insecurity, and all of that, they've been disenfranchised, and great point you raised, Dr. Abati, about the VIN number and the PVCs to be printed again, then something is seriously cooking that we cannot even say or know. And if the PVC that is taking them months to print have been burnt in days and you say you're going to print it back in days, where is the logistical architecture to print all of that? There are many questions INEC needs to answer. And that's why that conversation started up on social media. It is for INEC to, like they say in Nigerian parlance, show walk-ins. If people that registered have their PVC in their hands, they will not be concerned this way. Please, get PVC into the hands of voters, not leave them in INEC warehouses. The federal government has blamed state governors for being partly responsible for the rising rate of poverty nationwide. The Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba, says state chief executive prioritized construction of heavy pieces of infrastructure, such as bridges and airports in cities, rather than improving the lives of the rural poor. Agba said despite the federal government's intervention to alleviate poverty, the results do not reflect the amount of investment made in this area.
And is putting out at the federal level, putting out so much money, but we are not seeing a reflection, so much a reflection in terms of money that is being put out in alleviating poverty, which is one of the reasons the government also put in place the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy. But if the government, federal government, puts the entire income that it earns into all of this without some form of complementarity from the state governments in playing their part, it will seem as if we are throwing money in a pond. Because the governors basically are only functioning in their state capitals. And democracy that we preach about is delivering the greatest good to the greatest number of people. And from our demography, it shows that the greatest number of our people live in the rural areas.
Dr. Bati?
Well, quite interesting. You know, the Minister of State for Budget and Planning, Clement Agba, blaming the state governments. What is the basis of his, of his submissions? He was briefing after the Federal Executive Council meeting yesterday, the media in Abuja, and he made the point that the federal government has done a lot with regard to checking poverty. And his opening argument is that poverty is multidimensional. Well, that again is obvious. It's like stating the obvious. He said that poverty is not just about lack of money. It also has to do with infrastructure that you provide and all of that. After all, there was a multidimensional poverty report recently. And he argued that the federal government of Nigeria has a national poverty reduction and growth strategy, and that the federal government of Nigeria has a social protection program, social investment program, and that the federal government of Nigeria has done so much, has played its part in ensuring, that the people of Nigeria are lifted out of poverty. The background to all of this is a recent report by the National Bureau of Statistics indicating that about 133 million Nigerians, are living below the poverty line. That will be, according to the NBS, 63% of the population. Other reports have indicated that, in fact, it's higher than 63%. Now, that report, disaggregating the data further, said 72% of Nigerians live, of poor Nigerians live in rural areas, where a smaller, the remaining percentage live in urban areas. So all of that was what Clement Agba, was talking about. But he had a lot of praise for the federal government. And then he blamed the state governors. He said that if people are talking about poverty in Nigeria, we tend to overlook the state governors. That these state governors, they just concentrate on the capital cities in their states, where they concentrate on building flyovers, and also airports, instead of investing more in the rural areas, where the majority of the people are, and, make sure that there is greater emphasis on human capital development. In fact, he was giving a lecture to the state governors in terms of what they should do in their states. He was even saying, they should fix routes. Instead of building airports and flyovers, they should fix the roads so that farmers can bring their goods to the urban areas and all of that. Well, this blame game doesn't make sense. Whether it's the federal government or it's the state government, the average Nigerian, the question that the average Nigerian will ask himself or herself is, am I better off today in 2022 than I was in 2015 when the APC government came to power? As we move towards 2023 general elections, there will be a lot of revisionism. There will be spokespersons for government, trying to write, their own narratives. And that's precisely what Clement Agba was doing there. However, one point that he made is that, yes, Nigerians tend to focus more on the federal government, whereas responsibility is also required, accountability is also required at the state level. And I share his view that many of these state governors don't even know what they are doing. Some of them don't even know why they are governors, okay? But to generalize, to say all the state governors are not doing anything will be most unfair, because there are states where you can see specific performance and efforts, not just now, but since 1999. And the people know those governors that are serving them and the ones that are permanently in Abuja, hanging around Aso Villa and not doing the work for which they have been appointed to do. And the ones that are bag carriers for their political godfathers who do not even attend their own events in their own states. They are busy doing Oraisa all over the place. So maybe if Clement Agba had been more specific in identifying who the culprits are, then of course that would be a very fair assessment. But to just generalize in an attempt to make the federal government look good, it's not a fair assessment. However, he overlooks the fact that when he says state governors should concentrate more on road construction, he overlooked the fact that many of these state governors are also saying in their states that the problematic roads in their states are state truncated roads that are under the purview of the federal government. And with the federal government saying, don't touch federal roads. If you do, you will not be reimbursed. So some of those state governors will say they are helpless. He's talking about taking produce from the farms on good roads to the urban areas. Has he forgotten? Does the Minister of State for Budget and Planning, National Planning, does he live in this country? Is he aware that in many parts of the country, people cannot even go to the farms? We have seen cases of governors weeping on television, calling on the federal government that is fully in charge of the cohesive instruments of a state including the police, the military, and all the forces, protecting their people, making it easier for their people to lead. In any case, politicians, Clement Agba being one of them, will say what they like. But the people of Nigeria, they know where the shoe pinches. As for poverty, we will be more interested, it seems to me, in measures, concrete measures that government is adopting, a review, an assessment of measures that have been adopted up to this point, and how all of that has helped, and what needs to be done going forward. They're using state time to blame state governors without proper research, proper evaluation. It's just grandstanding. I don't think anybody should take what Clement Agba said about the states being the ones to be blamed seriously. No, it's a collective error or failure that is responsible for poverty in Nigeria.
And I dare say it's a failure of this administration, this APC administration, and also other administrations by the PDP. It's a collective failure of both political parties since we returned to democracy. But let's narrow it down. The minister said states are to be blamed. I'd like to honorably ask the minister, that does the states get more when you have a breakdown of federal allocation or the federal government? And who is poised with tackling holistic poverty, if not the federal government? That as the federal government accounted for the money it said is set aside in social investment program, the billions it set aside in the humanitarian ministry. See, when people fail, they look for who to blame. The federal government set aside a social investment program. We would like to know how much that social investment program has reduced poverty in Nigeria. Because we have examples. I was just reading the World Bank report this morning when Brazil set up something called Bolsa Familia under Lula Inácio da Silva. 20 million people came out of poverty. Was it not in this country that we're feeding school children during COVID? Was it not in this country we heard of massive corruption, over 109 billion by the Attorney General? If we spend that money on the poor, I think it will go a long way. So why blame the states? And please don't get me wrong, this is not to exonerate state governors too. They ought to do a lot. Because a lot of state governors holding on to local government money where a lot of these poor people live is not right. The state governors must allow the local government function independently to be able to address the concerns of people. But the buck stops with this administration. And what it means is that this administration has failed to bring people out of poverty. In fact, the numbers have increased to 133 million as we speak today. So when the Minister of State for Budgets says the states are to be blamed, we will ask, what about those glowing promises the federal government made? What about those programs and the ministry they set up to alleviate the sufferings of people? What did they do? Can they give us a full audit of what was spent on trader money and how it impacted and brought people out of poverty? Can they give us a full breakdown of conditional cash transfer, of how it brought out, people from poverty? Can they give us a full breakdown of how much was spent in all of these schemes to bring people out of poverty in this country? Can we even see a comprehensive social register of the people they are transferring 5,000 naira to and the effect it's making on poverty? And like I said before, are they also going to factor in the corruption of the Accountant General? And thanks for the correction. not the Attorney General, the Accountant General of the Federation, that is now said to be having a plea bargain or requesting a plea bargain with the EFCC Accountant General. Please, people should not pee on our backs and tell us it's raining. We know what is happening. When you have failed, take the blame and take the learnings. You still have 3 months to go in this administration. I still feel if you're truly ready, a lot can be done in 3 months. Please, take the learnings. A student who was arrested for posting a tweet that appeared to mock the First Lady, Aisha Buhari, has been remanded in prison pending the hearing of his bail application. Aminu Mohammed is a final year student of the Federal University, Juse. The tweet, which was posted in Hausa in June this year, loosely translated, Mama has eaten poor people's money and is now full. It was accompanied by a photo of Aisha Mohammed's lawyer, Siki Agu, and says he denied a charge of defamation and was remanded after hearing at a court in the capital Abuja, pending another sitting on his bail. Arise News gathered from the presidency sources that the case was filed by the police, and there is now an outrage, including pleas for his release by several groups, including Rights Group and Amnesty International. Dr. Abati?
Okay, I know that this particular matter.
I'm sorry, I'm told to read on. I also hear that the national youth leader of the People's Democratic Party, Mohammed Kalade Suleiman, has confirmed what he called a legal detention of Aminu Mohammed for allegedly tweeting against the wife of the president, saying the act has overstepped the boundary of decency, law, and justice. Suleiman, who questioned those behind the arrest, condemned it and says he will continue to resist all arrests to ridicule, malign, and threaten or harass young people in Nigeria. According to him, the All Progressive Congress-led administration should not forget that they clinched power on the goodwill of everyday Nigerians. So Suleiman is urging relevant security agencies to quickly intervene in their lawful detention and ensure that Aminu regains his freedom. Okay, Dr. Bati, over to you, sir.
Well, on that last note by Suleiman, I mean, whether to grant a man bail or not is the discretion of the court. So, I mean, a commentator cannot say the court in exercising, its authority within its jurisdiction, must, just listen to, what the preferences of a partisan commentator in the matter. That's just simply it. So if there is an application for bail, the court can say, no, we're not granting this bail for so and so reason. And then they said, let the person be remanded in prison. It's for the lawyer to the defendant, to pursue it further and provide, reasonable causes why, the court should rule otherwise or reverse itself. Anyway, that's that about that. To deal with the issue, well, I mean, it's interesting and it's not surprising that the matter involving this gentleman, Aminu Mohammed, a student of environmental management at the Federal University, Duse, in Jigawa State, has generated a lot of interest. What he was alleged to have done was to have put out a tweet in which he said that Aisha Buhari, the wife of the president, has eaten poor people's money and is now full. And on the basis of that, he has been taken to court. The issue here at stake is defamation. Defamation is an offense under the laws of Nigeria. And what it means is that when you put out a statement that is considered false, that can ridicule a person, that can expose a person to contempt, that can damage a person's reputation, that can lower such person's reputation in the estimation of right-thinking members of a society. So it's personal. People have a right to defend their reputation. So if the First Lady has gone to court as plaintiff in this matter, then it is within her right. Whether she is the wife of the president or not is completely immaterial. But the court, in looking into it, will then determine whether the statement is true. Truth is a very strong defense in defamation. If you say, yes, it is true, this person has consumed poor people's money and is now full, the court will say, prove it. You alleges must prove. So don't let's be sentimental about it. I know that the concern of the public is simply that people in high places are very quick to say, oh, I've been defamed and the person must be punished. No, you can defend your reputation, whether you are in government or not, as long as the judicial system is very fair in looking at the issues. The second thing that people should pay attention to is that this was a tweet. A lot of people go on Twitter and other social media platforms. They think because of the anonymity that it grants you, you can just say what you like about other people. If the matter is taken up in court, it could be an issue. And you could be sanctioned for it under the laws of the land. People hide under the fact that the Evidence Act 2011 does not talk about the admissibility of electronic evidence. But they forget that there's also the Cybercrime Prohibition Prevention etc. Act of 2015. And there have been decided cases under that, look, if you go to any electronic platform or digital platform to either commit fraud or to commit a crime, to abuse people, you can be taken to court. So that's one other lesson for people who think, after all, it's social media. I can say what I like. After all, it's Twitter. And Elon Musk, who has bought Twitter, is now saying, you know, this is a free speech, free willing space. No, it is not. That's one lesson that people should learn. And the issue about admissibility of electronic evidence, the leading authority on it is Justice Alaba Ajileye. Justice Alaba Ajileye has written 2 books on it. So for persons who don't know what it is all about, they should read the Cybercrime Act 2015 and read Justice Alaba Ajileye's books on electronic evidence, his compendium of cases and his original text on the matter. So while people can be emotional about this and they say, oh, she's the first lady, you know, they forget that the principle that public officers must be held accountable, the principle of voluntary non-fit injuria, does not apply in this particular instance to a private person like Aisha Buhari. She's not the one they voted for. So she has the right to defend her reputation. And in many instances also, even those that we say, if you don't like it, don't go near the kitchen, they also have a right to defend their reputation. But truth is a defense, or what some people call justification. So the rights of the gentleman, Aminu Mohammed, must be respected. He must be, you know, given his full rights under the law and to defend himself. And if he has the justification, I'm sure that the judge, you know, will look at all of this. But I think, you know, beyond emotions, there are also lessons that we can take away from this, even at this preliminary stage.
Okay, you see, we need to be very careful. I'll say 3 things. I would say more than 3 things anyway. At first, let's remember, power is transient. This cycle will soon go. February, March, new people will come on board. And let's be careful what we do. Secondly, let's investigate how Aminu was even arrested in the first place. How was he treated? Please, if at any point Aminu was assaulted or beaten, that should also be brought to bear. But let's investigate. And let us look at this matter deeply. I'm happy you talked about the high-handedness, Dr. Abati. Yes, there's that level of high-handedness among people that feel they're high up there. You said we didn't vote for the First Lady. Yes, she's the wife of the president. But why do we have an office of the First Lady working? I ask. Is it constitutional? Is that not an aberration of the law of the land already in the first place? Can we come out to say that monetary provisions are not made for the office of the First Lady? Is it constitutionally recognized? We talked about high-handedness. If the laws work in Nigeria, were we not talking about the IGP here yesterday? Wasn't he found guilty for contempt of court? Is he not supposed to be cooling off in jail by now? See, if we can't dish it, then we can't take it. And that's why we should be careful. So in all of this, let's also investigate the circumstances at which Aminu was arrested in the first place, whatever was done to him before he was taken to court. But like you said, the law is the law. He who alleges must prove. And this is also on people that go out there and make all sorts of allegations against people. If you have the facts, Aminu, you must prove. But if you don't have the facts, too bad. The law will come out hard on you. But also, in this space, once you're in the public space, you get abused every day. How many people do you want to take to task over abuse? How many people do you want to take to task over abuse? But the most important thing is, please, let's respect everybody. Power is transient. This country is a blessed country. It's just for a time. It will never be like that forever. But the law must take its course. And for all of you that go to malign people on social media, be careful. Let this Aminu case be a watchword. Because I hear Aminu wants to write exams. I thought, as a student, we'll have more concerned about that and all of that. Then all of this happened. But also in totality, let's investigate all what happened across the value chain. And let peace and justice reign in this country. I repeat, power is transient.